Welcome to the Life Makeovers podcast. My name is Cindy D. Whitmer, and I am the Midlife Makeover Coach, helping you turn your midlife into your best life, one step at a time. Through powerful conversations, my own midlife roller coaster story, and over 3 decades of helping people transform their lives through counseling and coaching, I am on a mission to help you create your own definition of success and happiness. Thank you for being here. Hey, everybody. Cindy here. Thank you so much for being here with us today on the Life Makeovers podcast. Today is one of your lucky days because I have with me Kimberly French. Kimberly French is here. Hello.
Hey, Cindy. So good to be here and so good to see you.
It's so good to see you. Gosh, we've known each other. Well, we met training with Jack Canfield in 2012.
Yeah.
And we've stayed in touch. And I'm in Lawrence, Kansas, and you're in Portland, Oregon. And well, you were somewhere else at the time, though. You've moved some.
Yeah, I was in Phoenix when we initially met, moved to Germany, and I ended up here. So.
Wow. Well, we're just, where's Waldo? You know, that little cartoon guy? We're just keeping track of you. Where's no, but it's really great to have you here. And Kimberly launched a book just a couple weeks ago. So she's going to tell us more about that today, which is very exciting. All about pivoting. Oh, there it is. All about pivoting, unexpected pivots, which those of us in midlife have certainly experienced that. So I know this is going to be a great conversation. So Kimberly, why don't you just start us off? Tell us a little bit about you and whatever you want us to know.
Sure. So I've had a lot of pivots in my life, and I have a background in corporate. I left for a while to explore my creativity and went back to corporate, then raised a family, and just did a whole lot of stuff and lots of changes along the way. I think one of the bigger ones, is when my daughter was born premature at 25 weeks and 1 pound. You know that story, and go into that in the book. But the book is more about that. But a little bit about me. I'm a jack of all trades, and I kind of I go where my heart leads me. Where I used to be so logical about like every decision. And that wasn't working for me. So it's hard for me to introduce myself like I am a corporate, I am a title, I am.
Label yourself. It's hard.
Yeah. I have a hard time labeling myself because I have been following where my heart leads me, and that's been really rewarding for me.
Yeah. So you were in more your head space, your logical space, and then you moved it down to your heart or more inspiration or whatever you would say, huh? So labeling yourself is a little bit difficult. Maybe you're every woman. Maybe you're Wonder Woman.
There you go.
You have a W on your chest that you're hiding behind that beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Well, my primary audience is women in midlife, and I think every woman in midlife has experienced an unexpected pivot or has pivoted in ways they never imagined they would, perhaps. And you're a real expert in this. So start us off. Tell us what an unexpected pivot is by your definition, and what is your goal with the book and so forth.
Sure. So first off, I think every woman in midlife is a Wonder Woman. So we've all been through it.
Girls, yeah.
And I think we forget it when we start getting a few more wrinkles, a few more pounds, maybe because of menopause. And so we forget that we're Wonder Women. But man, by the time we got all the experiences, we're all Wonder Women. But back to your question, unexpected pivots. For me, it's really the unexpected events that happen in your life that cause you to have a mental shift or even a physical shift. And that's really the pivot. So when I say an unexpected pivot, it kind of encompasses all of that, like the event that happened and then the subsequent pivot you had to make to welcome it into your life, to adjust to it, to get back to a place of normalcy, or even create a new normal for yourself, because sometimes we can't go back, and oftentimes we can't go back. It just changes us in many ways.
Yeah. So you're saying the unexpected pivot is an event that then causes us to pivot. So we might
Mm.
pivot logistically, right? In
Mhm.
some way. Maybe it's a move, maybe it's a job change, maybe it's a relationship change, or maybe it's a mindset change, or a heart
All of
change,
it.
or all of those things together.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it really came when I started writing this book. It was labeled "When the Shit Hits the Fan." It was about 10 years ago,
I like.
and it came out kind of angry, and it was like a lot of angry stories. And I was like, I'm not ready to write the book. I felt like this inner guidance, like I was supposed to write something, and I didn't know what at the time, but I just kept getting this like, you got to write a book. You got to write a book. A lot of people are telling me to write a book also. And it came out angry. I'm like, not right now. That's not the book I want to put out there. So, over time, I've learned a lot from all the unexpected things that have happened in my life. And about a year and a half ago, I started writing and hired a book coach. And my logical brain is still active, obviously. So I can't, like, I have both logical and the heart. Obviously, they're kind of fighting for attention all the time. My logical brain said, you have all this corporate experience, write a book on leadership. And I spent about 9 months trying to make that happen, because that's where money is. That's where people want to learn more about leadership, and blah blah blah. And finally, when I gave myself permission to say, I'm just going to write and see what comes out, that's when all these stories of my unexpected pivots started just flowing out, and the whole book just like flowed out. And this, like, I looked back at like the NICU experience with my daughter, born 25 weeks and 1 pound. She was in the NICU for 5 months,
Oh,
and she almost died at 8 weeks. And it was a miracle story for her to actually survive that. She's alive and well today. She's 14 and a normal teenager. So I just want to put that out there. She survived. But that particular pivot is what I started with. And then the rest of it flowed. I looked at that experience because I was like, okay, what did I do? What can I share with people that's of any value from that experience?
oh
And
my.
that's where the acronym STABLE came from. So STABLE is what I teach in the book, and it's creating a stable foundation for yourself when you're going through an unexpected event and a pivot. And quickly or briefly, yeah, S is stay centered. T
Okay.
is trust your inner guidance.
I'm
A
writing
is,
down.
are you?
Guidance.
Yep.
I want to
A is
remember.
accepting life as it is.
Okay. Good.
B is believe anything's possible.
Beautiful.
L is living gratitude.
Oh, yeah.
And
Wow.
E is empower yourself.
Ooh.
And I have used this process since I discovered this, writing this book. I do it for everything now. Like, I broke my rib in Boston over the summer. And as I was writing, it was actually when I was writing one of the chapters and I was having to revisit, I used the stable process and kind of walk myself through. It's like, oh, okay, this is really useful. I wish I would have discovered this when I was 20, or 20
Yeah.
years ago at least.
Yeah. So you apply this to your own life and find it grounds you, like calms you,
Mm,
and keeps
yes.
you stable. So we don't go
Yep.
into crazy. Is that the
That's
idea?
the whole goal. That's the whole goal. I mean, I've been in the lowest of lows. I've been depressed. I've been, euphoria. We all go into euphoria, and we have these. I like to live a little bit here, more narrow, is because it's exhausting living in the extremes. It really is.
It's exhausting living in the extremes for sure. And
Yeah.
I find, in my work and in myself, like when we experience a trigger from a past event or something, or a past experience, or something that looks vaguely like it, like
Hmm.
I can go, and we as humans, it's common to go from calm, that stable state you're talking about, to like volcanic
Hmm.
eruption or earth shattering, just emotional reactions in
Right.
seconds, like just like that.
And you can change it in seconds too, if you know what to do, right?
Yes.
It's like you can go there in seconds and you can come back in seconds.
Yes. So it's the interrupting or disrupting that quick reaction.
Absolutely.
Wow. How do we do that?
Actually,
You didn't
that's a
tell
good
us
question,
what
right?
you want. That's not
Well, let
what
me
you're
get,
going to tell us.
I will do my best. What I do, it works for me. So I can only share what I do that works for me. When I got this book in the mail, so I've got recently been doing more videos, which and sharing it with my Facebook, like all of my Facebook group.
That's awesome. Good for you.
It's a new thing for me because before I'd be like, I don't want to do that, but I'm like really comfortable with it now. I
Yay.
got this in the mail last week and I made a video about how I had to pivot my thinking because when I got this in the mail, I flipped through it and I read some of the stories and I'm like, oh my gosh, I had this feeling of dread come over me. Like, oh my gosh, I'm sharing really intimate, vulnerable stories. I don't know if I want this to go out there. What if people think that I'm full of myself? What if people think that, oh my gosh, what is she doing sharing these stories? All these negative thoughts went in my head.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Worrying about what
Am
other
I,
people think too.
exactly, right? People pleasing. Number, 101 is care what people think more about what than you think about it. So I
And
went on a
being
video.
vulnerable, right? Feeling
Yeah.
that vulnerability of, oh, I shared this, I shared that. Oh gosh, oh
What are
no.
people going to think? Oh my gosh, she must be really full of herself. Well, who does she think she is? And then I had these feelings of people aren't going to read it and they're going to be like, it's going to validate my own feelings of not being enough, right? It's going to be, I'll validate all my feelings when nobody buys the book or nobody comments or they hate it, whatever stories I was telling. But I went on a video and told how I pivoted through that using the stable process. And I find that when I do that, people are like, oh, thank you for sharing that because now I know how to use it in my life.
Yes, for
So
sure.
if I can, I'll go through it here.
Yes, it's a very practical process, actually. And the, your willingness to say to your audience and to us today, I was worrying about what other people think. I had all this negative self talk. I felt really vulnerable. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody can relate to that. Not everybody's an author, but every woman listening can relate to that. So, yes, talk us through it. This is great.
Absolutely. Well, before I go into the story, because as I was having these dreaded feelings, my daughter wants to be an author when she grows up. She's 14 now, and she loves to write fictional, like historical fiction and fantasy. And so she really wants to be an author someday. And she's been talking to me a little bit about how she doesn't like to share her work because it makes her, what if people don't like it? And I've been talking to her about, you just have to put your work out there. You can't believe those thoughts. And that's like in the past. But I walked to her, she was doing unloading the dishwasher. And I walked over and I said, the book came in the mail and I'm feeling really insecure, Isabella. And no, we've talked about this for you in the past, but I'm having all these feelings. And she looked at me and she goes, Mom, you can't believe those negative thoughts. Just let it go. You can't control what other people think. And I'm like, she was listening when I was telling her those things way
Full
back when.
circle moment for you, right? Oh, then they
Yeah.
listen. They listen. Even when they're 14, they listen. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah, isn't that funny? And then hopefully she'll take that when she becomes a published author someday. And I knew she was right. I was sharing with her as kind of that like learning moment also for each of us. But I said, you're right, Isabella, I'm going to go use the stable process on it right now. So I sat down and I said, okay, S, stay centered. So I just took a deep breath.
Okay.
Um,
So that's just stopping yourself, kind of, and
yep.
taking a breath.
Stopping the talk and stay centered. It's okay. How do I stay centered? I take a deep breath. I close my eyes. I'm just going to like sit here and just feel my body for a while and kind of get back into my body and out of my head. And after I have that feeling, okay, I can do this. It's okay. Then I go to T, trust your inner guidance. And for me, the thing that popped up was I've been trusting my inner guidance this whole time. I've
Yes.
been trusting it this whole time. Why would I doubt it now? It has me putting this book out there and positive reviews, negative reviews. It doesn't matter. This is where my guidance told me to go. So, okay, check that one off. I'm good with that one.
Cool.
Accept life as it is. And, you know, I had the book in my hand. It was already available on Amazon.
Right.
People were already buying it. And I'm like, there's nothing I can do. I have to accept this, that is out there now, and I'm not going to take it back now. So I'm just accepting that whatever's happened is going to happen and keep moving forward.
Yes.
Then B is believe anything is possible. And, you know, beliefs are so multifaceted. I could believe like, no, the book is going to be successful, you know, and can visualize its success and me signing autographs. But it's also just believing that I'm going to be okay no matter what. There's that piece that's like, well, no matter what happens during this process, I have a belief that I'm trusting my inner guidance. I've got a support friends, group, family, everyone that's surrounding me, that's supporting me. I have a higher power that supports me. I'm going to be okay. So I believe whatever happens, I can handle it.
I love that.
And then L, living gratitude. And, you know, I usually, even though L is what, the fifth letter, I usually start there because it just didn't fit in the word stable, you know, as L first. But what's that?
Stable with an L.
Yeah, stable with an L. But I find when I start with gratitude on everything, that it's just easier to flow into the other pieces. And so grateful that I have friends like you. I was excited to do this podcast with you. I'm grateful that I have a book coach that helped me get this off the ground and into people's hands. I'm grateful for the positive reviews I'm already getting from people who've read the book. I'm just grateful that I'm grateful to be alive right now, and not even related to the book. I'm grateful to be on this path. So there's so many things to be grateful for.
There always is. I tell people all the time, you know, if you can't find something to be grateful for right now, no matter what you're going through, even on your worst day,
Absolutely.
You're not looking far enough. Keep looking, keep looking, keep looking. And way back when in my old therapy practice, I remember sitting with people who were, you know, really struggling with depression and so forth, and not to dishonor that at all, but just trying to help them climb out of it, you know. And, you know, many would say to me they had absolutely nothing they could think of to be grateful for. And so we went down to the bare bones. And I said, you have eyes you can see, you have ears you can hear.
Absolutely.
You had a car that got you here to the counseling center today. You have a roof over your head, you have food in your refrigerator. And, you know, there's a research that says if we have just $1 in a bank account with our name on it, we're actually wealthier than 1 billion people. Now,
that's a wild statistic, if that's true.
But it's a perspective, right?
Right.
And so whatever we need to do to climb into gratitude, I just agree with you so much about that. So I get why that's the first place you like to go, because you can't feel gratitude and total despair at the same time. They just don't. They don't exist together.
They don't mesh.
Yeah, they don't exist together. So okay, so after you get to the gratitude, then E, you're empowering yourself. So how did you empower yourself in this moment?
So when I was doing the research for the book, empowerment, I discovered is giving yourself permission to act, giving yourself permission. Okay. And I love that definition because so many of us wait for permission from others to follow our dreams, or wait for permission till somebody else thinks it's a good idea. So when I think of empowerment, that's where I go to. So I gave myself permission to be okay with the emotions that I was having, but also gave myself permission to move forward and believe in myself. So that was the empowerment piece for myself. I'm like, okay. And I haven't dreaded it going out ever since. And I went into today's launch day, by the way, October 3rd. And I had no dread. I had zilch. It was like a miracle almost, because I was just like, I worked through my feelings in a way that honored them, but still didn't like stay there and let it like ruminate in my head for hours, days, weeks, months. I've been there where things stick in your head for a very long time.
Oh, yes, a very long time. We can get really stuck somewhere. And so I tell people, when I'm coaching them, I'm sure you agree with this and have experienced this, that the goal isn't to never ever get in that spot. I mean, that'd be
Mm-hmm.
great, but we don't want to do that to ourselves, because
Yeah.
perfection is only just setting ourselves up for more bad feelings, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to notice that what used to take a month to sort through or overcome, or then a week, now maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's a day, maybe it's a morning, maybe it's an hour, maybe, in 10 minutes we can get it turned around. So noticing that progress, how we more quickly can navigate through those kinds of things, I think is exciting. Like, that's the
Mm.
goal, right? Is to just get better and
Yep.
better and better at finding our stable, right, in those moments.
I absolutely agree. I talk a lot in the book about, excuse me, I talk a lot in the book about depression and anxiety that I've suffered over the years.
Oh, yes.
Got something stuck in my throat.
That's okay.
And sometimes I would stay there for a long, long time. And it was just there's nothing you could do to touch it. And I talked through what finally broke it for me. And um, I was very proud of not having a panic attack over the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years. And when I wrote the book, I had a panic attack.
Oh, no.
But I experienced it so much differently, because I was like, I could feel the anxiety, kind of just the busyness. Because when I get busy and it's just like I have so many things going, I was like writing this book. I was being a CEO in a company that I since handed over back to the owner. I was leading an outreach committee at my church and doing a big old auction. Right, all of this was happening all at once,
A lot of stuff going on.
and it just,
And a husband.
yep. And it just kind of kept building, and I ignored it. And then one night I just had a panic attack. I'm like, oh, interesting. You're here while I'm writing about panic attacks, that I'm so proud that I'm done with it. Like, okay, I'm feeling you. Just do what you want to do. And I was able just to move through it and go on with my life.
So you were able to just get to that acceptance of that pretty fast, it sounds like. Like, oh, okay, here you are. You are
Mhm.
telling me something about where I'm at in my life right at this moment, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's been the huge learning for me, is when you're conscious of the pivots that you go through, and you can see what's worked or hasn't worked, and you can make adjustments. Anymore, anxiety doesn't bother me. I just think, oh, my body's trying to tell me something. I better listen. And if I want to like not live here in anxiety, I have to listen and see what my body wants. And sometimes it's just like, calm down,
Slow
take a
down,
break.
slow down a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So when we can, again, just get in touch with what we really need, right? Whatever's going on,
Mm.
whatever's happening, right? And honor that just makes all the difference, doesn't it?
It does. It does. I'm sure you teach that a lot in your work.
I do. And I continue to teach myself that, when I have moments
Mm-hmm.
where I'm pivoting or not expecting to, or something, curveball comes.
Mm-hmm.
I recently spent time with a family member who I've had, a challenging history with. I'll just put it that way. But I
Mm-hmm.
feel really good about the place where I am, at least in the relationship. And we were spending time together and having a good time and getting along great and just having a really good time. And then suddenly this person, like out of nowhere, unexpected pivot, here it came,
Mm-hmm.
decided she wanted to talk about our entire relationship history and started telling me
Mm.
all the mistakes I'd made.
Wow, interesting.
Years and years and years and years of mistakes. And I needed to find my staple and I didn't do it. I couldn't find it right away. I felt very reactive.
Mm-hmm.
And Yeah, it was. What do we do when the reaction is so strong, or the news is? I think of women, who are told, well, like as you know, um, last month my husband was in a motorcycle accident, and I got
Hmm.
called from some stranger who found him on the road,
Hmm.
and that he's okay and everything, but at first he didn't have any memory, any cognitive functioning. And so I wasn't so much afraid he was going to die, but I was concerned he might be brain injured forever and not
Sure.
all there, so to speak. And so we've had a lot of talks about, wow, life can change on a dime, and it does
Mm.
sometimes. And
Yeah.
so, what can you say to people who get a phone call and, suddenly someone's died, or maybe their house is burned down, or they get fired or laid off from work and they just did not see this coming, or any of those kind of really what we might call big, more dramatic moments in life, that are going to lead us to the pivoting, whether we want it to or not. Like,
Hmm.
how do we get there to that centered spot to really get it in perspective? And I don't know, maybe I'm.
No, that's a good question. And there's so many different, there's the like immediate danger, like the stress response, you just get through that, obviously. But you're talking more like on the other side, like you're not in immediate danger, but somebody else, has gone through something that you're needing to like now adjust your life.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always go back to, so my dad died when I was 7 years old. It was the morning of my brother's wedding, and they went ahead with the wedding anyway.
Oh my gosh, you're
And
kidding.
most of my early childhood experience was like not feeling my feelings about what, and nobody else in my family feels their feelings. They didn't grieve. And so stuffing it away
Yes.
was not the answer. It never is the answer. So I'm always a big proponent of,
Mhm.
yeah,
I interrupted.
no, that's okay. I'm a big proponent of, you got to feel your feelings first. But if you're in a panic moment and you're like, just can't calm your nervous system down, there are many ways. I mean, if taking the deep breath works for me now, where it didn't used to, right? People would tell me to take a deep breath, and I'd be like, I do that. It still isn't working, right? And I found other strategies, which I share in the book, but I'll share a few of them here. One of them that really became really powerful for me is when I'm in a panic moment and I'm just feeling more and more anxiety, and it's not shifting with breathing. It's not shifting with like, just shutting my eyes and trying to calm my body, is I will get angry with the thoughts. I will tell the thoughts, get the hell
Wow.
out of my head. And I'll stomp around the room and I will say, you do not belong here. And it comes from my Christian background of casting out demons. If you're familiar with, Christ cast out demons. Well, I took that and said, okay, I'm going to cast you demons out, which are just for me negative thoughts.
Mhm.
And I will stomp around and say, you don't belong here. You have no power here. Get out. That shifts it for me. If I'm in a panic moment I can't get out of, is
Nice.
taking control. And that's very empowering, because then I just took control of
Yeah.
my body and my thoughts.
Mhm.
I discovered that just by chance. And that was when I was in my deepest like anxiety, right after Isabella was born, and nothing was shaking it, nothing was helping it. And I just happened to like, that was an intuition that came to me to cast it said, go cast out demons. I'm like, okay. People gotta think I'm weird if I ever talk about this, but I don't care if people think I'm weird anymore. it's it is a very powerful tool that I use if it's hard for me to shift.
That's great. I love that, where you're just really saying to the thoughts, you're not welcome here. Take off. Out
Mm,
of here. You don't belong
yep.
here. Go
Take a
away.
hike.
Thank you. Bye bye. You're not needed
Hmm.
here anymore.
But then you feel that powerful surge. And then from that powerful like surge, you can like say, okay, I can control my own actions here. I can control my own response here. Because if you don't have that sense of like having any control over it, and your body is just like going out of control and you're just feeling out of control, it's hard to take like wise action to the next step that you're needed. And sometimes you need to be very lucid and very like centered so that you can help somebody else who's going through trauma.
Yes.
That's what I've discovered.
I love that. And I want to go back to the letter B too, because you said believing anything is possible. And I think you made reference to the idea of clinging to beliefs that serve you well too, like
Mm-hmm.
those moments, right? So that's something I've found that really helps me. Like I have a lot of beliefs, but I have a few
Mm-hmm.
core ones that are kind of general that I grab onto when I feel disrupted, when I really feel like, something strong has shown up that I'm not expecting or whatever. My father, for example, dropped dead of a heart attack 10 years ago. And
Mm-hmm.
totally unexpected. He had a perfect physical 3 weeks before, was kind of
Mm-hmm.
bragging about his health. He was 69 years old. I mean, he was not,
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't very old or anything either. And I remember getting the call at midnight from the hospital, and this poor woman whose job it was to tell me. And, and she said, hi, my name is whatever her name was. And she said, I'm sorry to inform you that your father passed away this evening. And I
Mm-hmm.
just, my first response was in my mind was no, 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 no. I mean, it was kind of that no, please no. Go back to 5 minutes ago when my life was just
Mm-hmm.
clicking along.
Yeah.
The second thought I grabbed, the second one that I grabbed, I wish it would have been the first, but it was the second, was everything is always working out. All is well. Everything is always working out. All is well, which is one of my general
Mm-hmm.
core
Mm-hmm.
beliefs. I say every morning in my little spiritual, morning practice, get ready for the day. And it can be so comforting. Like, I didn't know how it
Mm-hmm.
was all going to turn out to be well. I didn't know, I didn't feel happy, of course, in that moment. It was quite the opposite. And there were a lot of unknowns in the first few minutes, the first few days, the first few weeks, the first few months,
Yeah.
for some reason being able to grab that general belief of, I know all is well, or all will be well, everything is always working out, that just that helped me survive one of the most
Yeah.
difficult
That's
moments
powerful.
of life.
That's
And it was
powerful.
empowering. It was like, because if you really can believe it, then
Mm-hmm.
this, you don't want this, you
Mm-hmm.
weren't expecting this, you've got to pivot in lots and lots of ways suddenly, whether you want to or not. It's comforting.
Yeah. Very much so.
It's comforting.
So I shared when Isabel was in the NICU, she almost died. And there was a moment where she had to have surgery and have a portion of her bowel removed.
Oh,
And I was panicking the night before her surgery. She was only 3.5 pounds at that time. And I was like, what if she dies? What if she dies? And one of my really good friends who had been with me since the beginning, when I had HELLP syndrome and had to like go into the hospital, I called her up and I said, I'm scared and I'm going to cry right now. and I said, what if she dies? And she goes, Kim, she might. And your job is to love her, no matter what happens. And you can't control this. You can't control, because the thing is, people die every single day. She didn't say this part of it, but I got to this place, and she, at some point when I was talking to her, I just like was comforted by the fact, like, this is just part of life. My dad died too young, but a lot of parents, children, elderly, babies,
all
we
ages,
die.
all circumstances.
And as soon as I can get to an acceptance, then I can be at peace and I can support her better. And so when you say that belief, I mean, that's where you practice before you need it. You
Yeah.
practice these
Yeah.
things of resilience and power of those beliefs and those moments, so that when it hits, you're not destroyed by it.
Yeah.
So that's powerful you shared that.
It's a tool that you can pick up and use in those very traumatic, scary times. And
Yeah.
I love that story of your friend, really
Just telling the truth.
well, just by being honest and not trying to sugarcoat a very frightening possibility
Yeah.
family in that moment. I just, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not sugarcoat things, people. That's not comforting because we know when we're lying to ourselves and to each other, don't we?
That's true. Yeah. And we don't need to do that anymore.
No, I don't think so either. No. Wow. Oh, well, what else? What else do you really want to say? Do you want to, is there anything else you really want to share or say? Tell us where your book is, whatever. Let's hear it.
Yeah. I'm just happy just sitting here dialoguing with you. It's just so fun to talk to you.
It is fun. Let's stay all day. I don't know if we keep our listeners, but
No, I don't think so. But yeah, so my book is out on Amazon. Is it both in Kindle version and paperback? It's currently being recorded as of right now on Audible. So by the time your listeners hear this, it might be available mid-October to end of October. So if you're looking for an Audible version, I would love to have people who are resonating with this message buy it. I put it out there for people to be inspired by the stories. So no longer keeping things secret and too close to the vest.
yes. So will you hold it up again for those that are watching the podcast on YouTube?
And this is actually the proof copy. So this little thing here is usually not there. It says not for resale because this is the proof copy they send to the author.
Okay.
But
right.
But that's it right there.
Pivot, change is inevitable. Be confident, trust yourself, and stay centered in a rapidly changing world. Kimberly K. French. Pivot. Okay, as you heard Kimberly say, we're recording this on October 3rd. You're going to hear it on October 18th. So the book launched today. So it was out. It is out as of October 3rd, but maybe in all three of those versions by October 18th today when you all get the podcast. But nonetheless, it's out there. You can find it. And how do people find you besides the book? Is there a place they can go to connect with you?
Sure. Yeah, it's simple. KimberlyKFrench.com.
KimberlyKFrench.com. Okay. Oh, gosh. Well, I can't say thank you enough, Kimberly.
Thank you too.
Oh, it's just such a pleasure. It's such a pleasure.
You do good work in the world. So, I mean, getting it all out there and helping people is what we're both about. So
that's what it's about, isn't it? I mean, I just find there's just such meaning in it. You know, I think to myself that, even if one person really grabbed onto a thing or two from our conversations today, wow. Yay. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'll end with the story because I shared with you the dread moment, right? And putting it out there. And just yesterday, I got an email and it was titled Fan Letter. And I was just blown away. It was somebody who I know, I'd met once. She read my book and she's on her second reading of it. And she just told me, in a week, she's reading it twice in 1 week. And she just told me how much a difference the stable system was making in her life. So, and I'm touching one person. I'm like, okay, if that's the only person writing this book, it was worth it. So I love what you just said about if one person's helped by this, it's worth it.
Absolutely. Well, I know I've been helped by this conversation and I'm sure many, many more have. And how cool. So she was lucky enough to get a sneak peek before it was out. So that's why she could, she's probably part of your book launch team that read it at the time. And even though the book launch is October 3rd, the book was ready a week ago. And I told the book launch team, it's out there. You can wait for the launch or you can buy it now. So she bought it right away. Oh, that's so exciting for you. I know, to have someone give you feedback like that already. And what a great thing. So what's before we go, what's your next pivot? Or you don't know because they're all unexpected, right?
They're all unexpected. I'm trusting my inner guidance. Yeah, I'm still coaching business owners. So I do a lot of business coaching, but I might do something with more like related to like this letter I just got, like a group for women who are going through pivots.
Oh,
So I'm playing in both places right now.
yeah, sounds like you're open to what unfolds, which is a
Yeah,
lovely way to live and work as well. So,
yeah. But thank
all
you for
right.
allowing me to come here and share that with you, and for you being you, and just always so lovely to talk to you.
Oh, it's so great to talk to you too. I look forward to a day we might be in the same room together again. It's been a long time.
That'd be nice.
That'd be a great goal to have, wouldn't it?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Well, Kimberly, thanks again. Go to KimberlyKFrench.com or head over to Amazon right now and look for the book Unexpected Pivots. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Life Makeovers podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share this podcast with those that you think would also benefit from what we're doing here. And I will talk to you again soon.